She slid the divorce papers across the table with that smug little smile, the same smile she wore when she thought I was broken, and begging. Her lawyer? Grinning. Her friends? Already planning the next girl's trip on what she thought she'd take from me. I looked at the paper, then at her. Didn't blink, didn't flinch, just signed. No anger, no reaction. That's what threw her off. And then the judge cleared his throat. Mr. Carter's holdings, verified across 3 private trusts and multiple business entities, place his net worth at, let's just say, that smile, gone. She came for everything. But I'd already taken it off the table, because I wasn't building an app. I was building an escape plan. You want to know how it all started? Sit down. This is not the story she tells. 6 years ago, I met Alyssa at a friend's birthday party in East Austin. She walked in late. Red dress. Simple, not flashy. But somehow, every damn head turned. I was standing near the kitchen, beer in hand, debating whether to leave. That kind of party wasn't really my scene. Too loud, too curated. Not me. But then she walked right up to me and said, "You look like someone who doesn't belong here." She meant it as a compliment. I laughed. She laughed. That's how it started. She had this confidence, sharp, smooth, almost dangerous, like she knew the room owed her attention, and it did. I remember thinking, she's out of my league. And yet, there we were, talking like we'd known each other for years. She made me feel seen, like maybe ambition and quiet weren't weaknesses. Back then, I thought I got lucky, but I didn't get lucky. I got hunted. The first few months with Alyssa, man, she was magnetic, charming, thoughtful, always one step ahead. She'd show up to my office with takeout from my favorite BBQ spot, drop handwritten notes in my laptop bag. Keep building. I believe in you. She'd sit next to me while I coded for hours. Never complained. Said she loved how focused I was, how I could disappear into the work. Back then, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. A woman who didn't just tolerate my ambition. She seemed to feed off it. Within a year, we moved in together. 1-bedroom apartment, nothing fancy. She said we didn't need much, just us and a dream. I should have known. Real love doesn't wrap itself in perfection. It's messy. It's honest. But Alyssa, she gave me a version of herself that was impossible not to fall for. And once I was in deep, she started changing the rules. It didn't start with screaming. It started with little comments, like, "You wear those shoes every day?" Or, "One day, maybe you'll make enough to take me to New York." She always said it with a smile. Just playful teasing, right? That's what I told myself. That's what men like me do. We let things slide because we don't want to look sensitive, because everyone jokes. But it added up. The tone, the timing, the way she'd glance at me after, like she was testing how far she could go. I'd laugh along, play the cool, easygoing guy. But deep down, it felt like someone planting cracks in the foundation and pretending it was harmless. She never raised her voice. She didn't need to. She had something sharper. A smile that could cut, and the patience to bleed me slowly. Alyssa came from money. Not old money, but close enough to think she did. Her dad ran a hedge fund. Her brother opened restaurants in Miami. Her cousin owned a damn vineyard in Napa. Me? My parents were public school teachers. I paid for college with scholarships, side gigs, and sleep deprivation. At first, she said it didn't matter. "We just grew up different," she'd say. No big deal, right? But later, it felt less like an observation and more like a warning, like she was reminding me, "You're not from here. You're not one of us." She'd say things like, "You wouldn't understand," or, "That's not really how we do things in my family." Not mean, just sharp enough to feel it. I didn't grow up poor, but next to her world, I was made to feel small. And the more I tried to prove myself, the smaller I became. To be fair, it wasn't all bad. There were nights we'd curl up on the couch, watch old movies with popcorn, or plan our someday house like it was real. She wanted marble floors, a walk-in closet bigger than our apartment, a pool shaped like a grand piano. I'd laugh, say we'd get there eventually. She'd smile, kiss my cheek like it meant something. And maybe, in those moments, it did. But here's the thing. Even a toxic relationship has highlight reels. That's how it survives. You look back and think, see, it wasn't that bad. Look at that night. Look at that trip. You convince yourself the good cancels out the rot. It doesn't. It just hides it better. Every sweet moment was a bandage over a bullet wound. It stopped the bleeding just long enough to keep me from noticing I was dying slowly. The same focus she used to love? Yeah. Suddenly, it was a problem. "You're married to your laptop," she said once, tossing her wine glass on the counter a little too hard. Thing is, I was working more. 12, sometimes 14-hour days, building something I believed in. Not for fame, not for likes, for us. She stopped showing up with food, stopped asking how things were going, started going out more. Girls' night, she'd say, but nights turned into full weekends. She said she needed space, that we were growing apart, that I was too quiet, too closed off. But I was the same man I'd always been. Only difference? I had tunnel vision for something real. She used to call it ambition. Now she called it neglect. Funny how love turns on you like that. Goes from cheering you on to accusing you of leaving them behind. All I wanted was to build something that mattered. I just didn't know she'd stop being part of it. She said she needed space, so I gave it to her. She started traveling more. First a weekend in Chicago, then Vegas, then Miami. Always girls' trips, always last minute. She'd come back with a tan, new perfume, and less patience. Kisses turned into nods. Touch became distance. Meanwhile, I was still in the same chair. Same hoodie, same coffee, same code, believing in what I was building. I kept telling myself it was just a rough patch, that once the product launched, the money came in, and things stabilized. She'd come back. I thought I was being loyal. What I was really being was naive. She wasn't taking space. She was creating distance. Emotionally, physically, strategically. But I couldn't see that then. I just kept grinding, thinking the future would fix the present. What I didn't realize is that by the time I finished building my dream, she'd already packed hers. I'd come home to a quiet apartment, lights off, no music, no Alyssa. But her things were still there. Her heels by the door, her makeup on the sink, her perfume on the sheets. She wasn't gone. She just wasn't with me. We still lived under the same roof, but we hadn't shared a moment in weeks. No more couch nights, no late-night laughs, no, "How was your day?" It's wild how silence can be louder than shouting. She didn't have to say a word. Her distance screamed through walls. And still, I kept building, kept my head down, kept believing that maybe once things clicked into place, she'd come around. Because that's what men like me do, right? We don't give up. We fix things. We provide. But here's the truth. You can't build a future with someone who's already living in the past tense. I'd walk into a room, and it felt like I was interrupting something, even if we were the only two people in it. I'd speak, and she'd barely lift her eyes from her phone. Just a nod, a sigh, sometimes not even that. I started second-guessing myself. Do I push too hard, talk too much, say the wrong thing? I used to feel like a man in this house. Now I felt like background noise, a wall fixture. I'd make dinner. She'd eat silently, eyes on her screen, then disappear into the bedroom, door half shut. No fights, no yelling. Just that cold, invisible fog that settles when someone's already halfway gone. And the messed up part? I didn't confront it. I adjusted to it, like a man who stays out of the rain, but never questions why the roof is leaking. She was glowing, but not for me. Every weekend she was out. Rooftop bars, winery tastings, spa days with friends I'd never met. The kind of life she used to say she didn't care about. She cared now. The selfies got bolder, the dresses got shorter, the captions got colder. Deserve the life you love. Your vibe attracts your tribe. She wasn't talking to me. She was talking to the world and letting me watch. I stayed in, fixing bugs, chasing deadlines, heating leftovers. She came home late, smelling like perfume I didn't buy, smiling like she had a secret. Sometimes she didn't come home at all. Just a text. Crashing at Jenna's. Don't wait up. Two people under one roof, living in two different dimensions. One chasing purpose, the other chasing attention. But here's the part that stings. I still hoped she'd choose us, even when it was clear she already had. I started to feel like a placeholder, a warm body, a steady paycheck. Someone to text when the Uber took too long. She wasn't cruel, she was casual. Casual with my time, casual with my loyalty. I'd ask how her day was. She'd shrug and scroll. I'd try to plan a weekend. She'd already made other plans. And when I brought it up, she'd sigh, like I was being needy, like wanting connection made me weak. I was still building, still pushing, still fighting for this dream I thought we shared. But slowly, something cracked. Not because she left, but because I started to feel like I wasn't worth staying for. And here's the part that messed me up most. She didn't leave. Because she knew I wouldn't. Not yet. Not while I still believed in the version of her that didn't exist anymore. I started to wonder if I was the problem. Maybe I was too quiet. Maybe I worked too much. Maybe I wasn't exciting anymore. She didn't have to say I wasn't enough. She just stopped looking at me like I ever had been. Little by little, I rewrote myself. Made excuses for her distance. Rationalized her coldness. She's just tired. She's under pressure. This is just a phase. I'd clean the house. She'd ask why I moved her things. I'd cook dinner. She'd say she wasn't hungry. I was trying. But trying started to feel like begging. And when I finally asked if something was wrong, she smiled, leaned in, and said, "You're just so sensitive lately." That's when it hit me. She wasn't just pulling away. She was planting the idea that if something felt off, it was my fault. I caught myself apologizing for things I didn't even understand. Sorry if I walked into the room too fast. Sorry if I forgot to pick up the mail. Sorry if she looked upset even when she said she wasn't. It became a reflex, like I was always on the edge of messing something up, like I had to earn my right to be there. She never screamed. She didn't have to. Her silence did the punishing. Her tone did the cutting. Are you always this slow? You really don't get it, do you? Not insults, just small incisions, daily ones, bleeding out my self-worth. I wasn't living with a partner anymore. I was living with a mirror, one that only showed me what I lacked. And the most dangerous part? I started to believe it, that maybe I was broken, and maybe she was right to drift. My world got smaller. Not all at once, just piece by piece. My best friend Andre used to drop by on Sundays. We'd grab wings, catch a game, laugh like old times. Then one day Alyssa asked, "Does he really need to come over again?" It wasn't rude, just dismissive enough, so I stopped inviting him. My sister? She lived one city over, tried to visit for my birthday. Alyssa said we were too busy, told me to reschedule. I did. Even my mom's calls started to feel like interruptions. Alyssa wouldn't say anything. She'd just sigh loud enough for me to hear from the next room. She never said, "Don't see them." She didn't have to. I just stopped. Stopped reaching out, stopped showing up. Before I knew it, I wasn't just alone in the relationship. I was alone in the world she'd built around me. And somehow, I thanked her for it. I got to a point where nothing I did was right. If I forgot to take out the trash, I was careless. If I took the initiative, I was trying too hard. If I offered to help, I was in the way. If I stayed quiet, I was emotionally unavailable. She had a tone, never yelling, just sharp, precise. Every word was a pinprick. "Are you always this slow?" Wow, this is basic, Michael. You're exhausting. At first I pushed back, tried to talk it out, explain how it made me feel. But that never went anywhere. She'd sigh, walk away, maybe disappear for a day. Eventually I stopped pushing, started nodding, smiling through it, trying to be easier to love. And the worst part? Somewhere deep down, I thought maybe I deserved it. Because if she didn't see value in me, what value could possibly be there? I wasn't living anymore. I was just existing, walking softer, talking less, editing myself in real time. I didn't want to spark a sigh, didn't want to see that look in her eyes again, the one that said, "You're just too much to deal with." So I became less, quieter, simpler, easier. I disappeared while still standing there. She'd be on the phone, laughing in the other room, and I'd sit alone in the dark, feeling like a ghost in my own life. Not a man, not a partner, just a presence. There, but not seen. Moving, but not felt. And every time I looked in the mirror, there was less of me looking back. Not because she broke me all at once, but because I handed her tiny pieces of myself day after day just to keep the peace. There's a kind of silence that doesn't come from peace. It comes from shame. I didn't feel like a man anymore, not in the way that mattered. I provided. I stayed loyal. I kept my promises, but none of it seemed to mean anything to her. No appreciation, no affection, not even basic respect. She used to brag about me. Now she barely acknowledged me. At dinners with her friends, she'd interrupt, roll her eyes, say things like, "Let's not bore everyone with your code stuff." That one stung. Not because it was public, but because it was personal. I started wondering, am I just someone she settled for? Some project she outgrew? What's a man without respect? I wasn't looking for applause, just to feel like I mattered. But somewhere along the way, I stopped even mattering to myself. It took me a long time to admit it, but I wasn't bending to keep the peace. I was bending because I was afraid. Afraid she'd leave. Afraid I wasn't enough. Afraid of starting over, of being the man who couldn't keep his own wife. So I made her coffee every morning, even when she didn't say thank you, even when she barely looked up. I agreed with things I didn't believe in, laughed at jokes that cut me down, stayed silent when she crossed lines, because silence felt safer than standing up. I called it patience. I called it maturity. But the truth? It was fear, dressed up in logic, wrapped in responsibility. She didn't have to control me, because I was already managing myself, so she wouldn't have to. I wasn't loving her. I was trying not to lose her. And those are two very different things. The silence in that house, it wasn't peaceful. It was loud. It pressed against my chest like weight I couldn't name. We didn't fight. We didn't laugh. We just existed. Like two strangers sharing square footage. Her eyes glued to her phone, mine staring through the wall. She'd come home, pour a glass of wine, walk past me without a word. I stopped asking how her day was, because the answer didn't matter anymore. Not to her, not to me. And the worst part? I was numb to it. I didn't even expect warmth, didn't expect kindness, didn't expect anything. I used to dream in this house. Now I just sat still, breathing air that felt colder every night. A house isn't a home when you feel like a ghost inside it. And I didn't need an argument to prove it was over. The silence already had. I didn't want to admit it at first, but something was off. She smiled more at her phone than she ever did at me, laughed in ways I hadn't seen in months. Not with me, but at something else, someone else. She started dressing different too, subtle but noticeable. More perfume, more heels, like she was constantly auditioning for a world I wasn't part of. One night, I heard her giggle in the bathroom. Door cracked, phone lit, whispers. When I walked by, she went silent. "Everything okay?" I asked. She looked up, eyes calm, voice sharp. "You're being paranoid." That word hit harder than I expected, because deep down, I wasn't paranoid. I was finally noticing what I'd been trying not to see. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. It wasn't distance anymore. It was detachment. And she'd already started practicing life without me. There's a shift that happens. When you realize someone's already halfway out the door, you stop begging, you stop pleading, you stop trying to prove you're worth staying for. You just start watching. I began noticing the inconsistencies, trips that didn't add up, friends I'd never met suddenly too important to miss dinner for, spa days that left no receipts. She'd leave her phone face down now, take it into the shower, turn it on silent when she got home. I didn't accuse her, didn't raise my voice. I just logged it. Every late night, every shift in tone, every time she said, "You're imagining things." Because the truth was, I wasn't imagining anything. I was just done pretending I didn't see it. I used to ask, why is she pulling away? Now I was asking, what is she hiding? It was a Friday night. She thought I'd be working late. Meetings wrapped early, so I picked up her favorite Thai food and headed home. I wanted a quiet night, no tension, no guessing. Just one night where we felt normal again. But when I pulled into the garage, I heard music, laughter, high-pitched, forced, the kind of laugh people use to show off. I paused. Something in my gut said, "Don't go in yet." I cracked the door. She was in the living room, black silk robe, champagne in hand, 3 of her friends, one I'd never seen. "You're glowing," someone said. She twirled her glass. "I should be. I'm about to be free." Another asked, "Does he know?" She laughed. "He still thinks we're just going through something." Then came the line I'll never forget. "He's got nothing. No money, no spine, just that dumb little app." I didn't storm in, didn't yell, didn't throw the food I brought. I closed the garage door, sat in the dark, engine off, still. The takeout bag was in the passenger seat, growing cold, just like everything else. I didn't cry, didn't curse. I just went quiet, like someone had turned the volume down on my entire life. She didn't just fall out of love. She'd moved on, signed the last page of our story, and was already planning her sequel. And me? I was still trying to fix chapter 3. But in that silence, something cracked. Not loud, not violent, but final. A kind of heartbreak you don't scream through, one you feel in your bones, behind your ribs, right where belief used to live. And that night, I stopped believing in us. That night didn't break me. It revealed me. I'd spent so long trying to save a marriage that had already flatlined, trying to hold on to a woman who'd already let go. But something about sitting in that garage, in the dark, with a bag of cold takeout and her words still echoing in my head, it flipped a switch. I didn't cry. I didn't plot revenge. I just woke up, like walking through a house in the dark, and someone finally turned the lights on. I realized I hadn't been married to a partner. I'd been married to a performance, and I was the only one still believing the script. So I made a decision. Not out of rage, not out of pride, but out of clarity. I wouldn't be the fool in her story, not anymore. After that night, I stopped reacting. I stopped chasing her moods, stopped trying to decode the silence. I still made her coffee in the morning, still let her win the arguments, still smiled when she said things that used to cut deep. But I wasn't absorbing it anymore. I was storing it, cataloging, preparing. I started showing up different, not louder, not colder, just quieter. The kind of quiet that makes people nervous, because it means something's shifted, and they're not sure what. She didn't notice at first. Why would she? I'd trained her to think I was predictable, safe, soft. But I'd learned something in the garage. You don't warn someone like her. You don't fight their storm. You study the wind. And then you build a shelter so strong, they'll never touch what matters again. Alyssa thought I was harmless. A dreamer. A quiet guy in hoodies typing into the void. She never asked who I really was, and I never offered. That worked perfectly for me. Long before we met, I launched a small mobile app. Nothing flashy. Didn't go viral. Didn't trend. But someone noticed. A private investor group. Not interested in the app itself, but the back-end architecture I built underneath. We made a deal. Quiet, private, no headlines, no champagne, just clean, legal money that I immediately moved into a Delaware LLC, then another. Then into silent partnerships, licensing deals, IP strategies, all off the grid, all wrapped in layers she'd never think to peel back. While she was mocking my potential, I was already protecting the payoff. Let her think I was broke. Let her laugh at that little app. The less she knew, the safer it all stayed. See, I didn't just plan to build something big. I planned to protect it. From the start, I knew how the world worked, what money did to people, how quickly curiosity becomes entitlement, how success invites revisionist history. So I buried it all, quietly, methodically. The money never sat. It moved. From LLCs to shell cores, through licensing deals, joint ventures, private equity contracts. No headlines, no flashy cars, no lifestyle upgrades. She thought we were renting because we were broke. Truth was, I didn't want our names on anything we could argue over later. The house, rented in her name. The furniture, on her credit cards. The vacations, paid with points from a corporate card she never saw. Let her own what could be repossessed. I wasn't playing poor, I was building a fortress. One with no front door, and no way in once she walked out. Let them think I was broke. Let them believe I was chasing dreams with no payoff. I drove the same car for 10 years. Not because I couldn't upgrade, but because I didn't want attention. I wore the same hoodie and jeans. Not because I lacked options, but because people don't ask questions when you look like background noise. To Alyssa, I was a man stuck in theory, obsessed with potential, blind to the real world. But every day she mocked me. I was in client meetings under NDAs, advising AI startups on back-end systems I quietly helped design. She called it a dumb little app. That dumb little app funded silent partnerships, licensing deals, and returns she'd never see a penny of. She didn't ask questions. I didn't offer answers. That was the agreement we never spoke aloud, and it worked. Until she thought she could take everything. You don't go to war with noise, you go with precision. I didn't ask friends for advice, didn't vent, didn't post cryptic quotes online. I started with a name, a retired divorce attorney my dad once worked with. Old school, no website, no voicemail. I showed up to his house, unannounced. No phones, no emails. We talked on his back porch, birds chirping, wind blowing, no digital trail. He gave me 2 names, one forensic accountant, one private investigator, trusted, discreet, dangerous in silence. I paid both in cash. No one knew my next move, not even the people closest to me. I didn't need support. I needed intel, proof, patterns, numbers that tell the truth. While Alyssa posted quotes about new beginnings, I was gathering receipts, tracking every girl's trip, every charge, every late-night lie. This wasn't paranoia. This was preparation. The accountant moved fast. He taught me to look past the surface, not what was spent, but where, when, and with who. She was smart, never spent enough to raise alarms, but every month she pulled just under the threshold that triggers automatic scrutiny. Spa days that never happened, dinner reservations I didn't attend, gift purchases I never received. The investigator filled in the blanks. It wasn't just one guy. It wasn't even just 2. There were 3. 3 men in 3 different cities. One worked in real estate, one taught at a university, one was barely out of grad school. Each of them thought they were the only one. While she told me she needed space, she was building a whole new orbit, and I wasn't in it. I didn't cry, didn't rage, I just filed it. Truth doesn't need to yell, it just needs to be proven. Let her think I was clueless. Let her believe I'd never catch on. I leaned into the act, acted distracted, tired, checked out. She got sloppy, left her phone unlocked, laughed over wine about her backup plan, dropped names, dates, slipped up over and over. So I started recording, legally, quietly, conversations, hints. Every half-truth she thought flew past me. I didn't store it in the cloud. I kept it old school. Handwritten journals, dates, times, tone of voice, her movements, her stories, her inconsistencies. I filed everything. Encrypted copies, backups on cold storage, paper trails tucked in safe deposit boxes with no digital footprint. While she posed for Instagram, I was building a legal timeline she couldn't erase. And the more pathetic I played, the more confident she became. That was her biggest mistake. I wasn't reacting. I was recording. My legal team didn't wear flashy suits. They didn't need to. 5 people, no noise. Each one vetted, experienced, quiet as stone. No LinkedIn, no website, no digital trail. The lead attorney, Danielle, had a reputation. Relentless, razor-sharp, allergic to theatrics. She didn't smile when I handed over the files. She just nodded and said, "We'll make it clean." I met them once a week. Different office, different time, no calls, no texts, always face to face. Every meeting was methodical. We reviewed recordings, bank statements, travel timelines, built a legal strategy like a blueprint. No emotion, just logic. While Alyssa threw shade online, I was stacking a case brick by brick. This wasn't revenge, it was reinforcement. Because when the day came, I wouldn't just walk into court prepared. I'd walk in already ahead. She made her move on a Thursday. I was at the co-working space, same hoodie, same corner desk. The front desk girl handed me a manila folder, said, "Looks important." It was. Divorce papers. Top page had a pink sticky note in Alyssa's handwriting. "Don't worry, I'll be gentle." A. No panic, no heat in my chest, just confirmation. Later that night, a friend sent me screenshots. Alyssa's group chat was lit up, photos of the signed papers, captions like, "Finally did it. Poor guy still thinks he's getting the house." I might frame that sticky note. It's art. She was celebrating. To her, it was done. Victory in heels, control in full bloom. She didn't know I'd already seen her lawyer's name weeks ago, and built an entire counter strategy before she ever picked up a pen. She thought it was checkmate. I hadn't even moved my queen. When the final papers came, delivered by courier, neatly packaged, stamped, I didn't flinch. No calls, no texts, no bargaining. I sat down, flipped through every page. She wanted the house? Take it. The car? It's yours. Spousal support? Fine. Rights to her own assets? No problem. I didn't change a single line. I signed each page slowly, one stroke at a time, like a man approving a plan he wrote himself. Most men fight, scream, drag it out. I didn't. That's what shook her the most. Because when I handed the folder to my attorney, I didn't ask, "Can we win this?" I said, "Let it go through, all of it." Why? Because she was fighting over the wrong kingdom. The real assets, the real power. She didn't even know they existed. She thought I gave up. I just let her win. Nothing. Alyssa expected a fight. Tears. Rage. One last plea. What she got was silence. I didn't text her. Didn't ask why. Didn't try to change her mind. The papers came back. Signed. Clean. Swift. Undeniable. She bragged in the group chat. "He folded. Told y'all." Didn't even contest it. So easy. But behind those messages, she started slipping. She called mutual friends more often, checked my socials, found nothing, reached out once just to check on things. I left her on red, and that's when the questions started. Why is he so calm? Why didn't he fight? Did he always have a plan? See, people like Alyssa, they know how to win a war, but they panic when they realize the other side never showed up to fight, because they already won. The spending started slow, then it got reckless. Designer handbags, spa trips, a weekend in Napa with her girls, charged to our joint account, bold, unapologetic. She posted it all. Champagne toasts, caption, "New chapter, same queen." I didn't say a word, didn't question a single charge, because while she flaunted her freedom, I forwarded everything to my forensic accountant. Every receipt, every swipe, every lie wrapped in a price tag. Turns out she'd been funneling thousands, all while telling the court she was broke, barely surviving post-breakup. What she called self-care, the court would call financial misconduct. She thought I was watching from the sidelines. She didn't know I was building the evidence that would bury her in court. Long before the shopping sprees, before the champagne captions, I had already built my war room. No names, no emails, just quiet meetings on back porches and unmarked office spaces. First, there was Ray, a retired forensic accountant who'd spent 30 years tearing apart corporate fraud. He didn't flinch when I showed him the statements. Then came Lisa, a private investigator with zero social media, but a Rolodex full of receipts, timestamps, and surveillance angles. They weren't just consultants, they were architects. While Alyssa performed for her audience, we were piecing together her real story, one charge at a time. She thought hiding behind Instagram filters and girl boss slogans would keep her safe. But the truth? She left breadcrumbs everywhere, and we followed every single one. Lisa didn't just follow the money, she followed the patterns. Thursday nights, weekend retreats, sudden gym memberships, but zero muscle gained. I didn't ask for photos, but they came anyway. A man in sunglasses picking her up at 10 p.m., her laughing too loud in the hotel lobby we once stayed in. Another one, a dinner, candlelit, her hand on someone else's. 3 men, different cities, all while she was still sharing my bed. It should have broken me. But it didn't. It clarified everything. This wasn't about love lost. It was about a game she thought I didn't know how to play. But I had already built the board. And she didn't even realize she was walking straight into checkmate. I didn't need to confront her. Not with yelling, not with chaos. I had something better. A file. A 3-inch binder. Sectioned, indexed, watertight. Bank statements. Hotel logs. Screenshots of text threads. Voice memos with time-stamped insults. Every legal receipt paid in cash. Every document notarized. This wasn't about exposing her. It was about protecting me. My attorney, Claire, sharp as a scalpel, reviewed it all page by page, no emotion. She looked up once and said, "She's done." I nodded, not out of satisfaction, but because I finally understood. You don't fight fire with fire. You drown it in undeniable proof. I didn't shout, didn't slam doors, didn't even ask why. I just stopped reacting. Alyssa took that silence as surrender. She thought I was broken, defeated, exactly how she wanted me. I let her believe it. She'd laugh louder on the phone, start dressing like she was already single, and leave her laptop open like I couldn't read. "He's not gonna fight," she told her friend on speaker. Honestly, it's sad. But while she mocked me, I was documenting everything. Every lie, every slip, every word she didn't realize mattered. I wore the mask so well, she never saw what I was really doing. I wasn't crumbling. I was collecting. And when you collect long enough, you own the narrative. While she was planning her exit, I was building mine. Not to run, but to win. I scanned every receipt, every contract, pulled bank statements from 6 years back, cross-referenced every shared charge, with dates she claimed she was working late, created triple backups, 2 encrypted drives, 1 physical copy in a safe, a state away. I pulled security footage from our Airbnb stays, emails she thought were deleted, even texts I'd archived for just in case. I didn't trust the cloud. I didn't trust banks. I trusted only proof. Because when they try to rewrite the past, you better hold the original manuscript. It wasn't paranoia. It was preparation. I didn't just plan for betrayal. I documented it in 1080p, PDF, and time-stamped metadata. So when the day came, there'd be no debate, only facts. I didn't search online, didn't Google the best divorce lawyers in town. That's how amateurs get burned. I went old school. Back porch, no phones, no names. Mr. Raines, retired, sharp, the kind of man who speaks in facts, not feelings. He used to work with my dad, knew how to win without leaving footprints. We didn't talk much. He just listened while I laid it all out. Then he nodded once, slow. "You've already done most of the work. Now you just need the right firepower." He handed me 2 names, a forensic accountant and a private investigator. No websites, no ads, just numbers on a card, paid in cash, no paper trail. "You're not trying to destroy her," he said. "You're making sure she doesn't destroy you." That stuck with me, because this wasn't war. This was insurance. His name was Thomas. Didn't shake hands, didn't smile, didn't need to. He just asked, "What do you want? Pictures, proof, or peace of mind?" I said, "I want the truth. Nothing more, nothing less. No drama, no tracking apps, no GPS on her car, just eyes, dates, times, receipts." He took notes without asking why. Didn't blink when I said she was lying. Didn't ask for my side of the story. People show you who they are eventually. My job's to get it on paper. He slid a document across the table. Flat fee, cash only. No reports sent digitally. Hard copies. Burnable. Give me a week, he said. But you won't like it. I didn't flinch. I'm not here to like anything, I told him. I'm here to see what I've been refusing to look at. Exactly 6 days later, the envelope showed up. No return address, just my name in plain black ink. Inside, a timeline, receipts, phone logs, photos. Not scandalous, not yet, but consistent. 3 spa visits, each on a Friday when she claimed she was working late. Dinner bills for 2, different restaurants, different names on the reservation. Hotel check-ins under her maiden name, not 1, not 2, 5. And one caught me hardest. The Marriott in Santa Barbara. Same hotel we stayed at on our anniversary 3 years ago. Same suite. That one hit like a gut punch. I stared at the date, then at the receipt, then at the photo. Her, sunglasses on, walking in with a man I'd never seen. Tall, smiling, confident. She looked happy. Not guilty. Happy. That's when I knew. I hadn't lost her. I just finally saw who she was never trying to be. I didn't scream, didn't smash a glass, didn't rage through the house like a man betrayed. I just sat there, folder open, reality bleeding out page by page. At some point I realized it wasn't pain anymore. It was clarity. For years I'd been walking through fog, hoping it would lift. It didn't. I was just pretending I could see. Now, no more pretending. I grabbed a notebook. Not my laptop, not my phone. Paper, ink, silence. I started writing. Dates she lied, places she went, what she said when she came home. No detail too small, no moment too subtle. Because this wasn't about revenge. This was about not being the fool again. She thought she had time, thought I'd spiral. But what she didn't see was, I wasn't spiraling. I was sharpening. The next morning I didn't go to work. Didn't check my inbox. Didn't even make coffee. Instead I made one call. It rang twice. Michael? The voice was older, measured, familiar. Yeah, I said. I think I'm ready to talk. On the other end was Mr. Shaw, my father's old friend, a retired attorney with more fight in him than any man half his age. He'd helped my parents through their own hell. He never forgot loyalty. He didn't ask for details, didn't rush me. We agreed to meet that weekend. No emails, no paper trail. After that call, I opened a private checking account, different bank, different name. I began transferring funds in amounts too small to notice. $900 here, $450 there. It wasn't hiding. It was moving pieces before the storm. She was still smiling at dinner that night. She thought she had me frozen. She didn't know I'd started melting the ice from underneath. Mr. Shaw didn't waste time. By Sunday afternoon, I was sitting on his porch, no phones, no notes, just 2 men and a worn legal pad. He asked questions. I gave answers. Dates, names, transactions, habits. By the time I left, he had 4 action items scribbled in bullet points. 1. Forensic accountant. 2. Private investigator. 3. Real estate analysis. 4. Full financial separation plan. Covert. I went home that night and didn't say a word. Alyssa was on the couch, glass of wine in hand, phone lit up in her face. She didn't look up. I didn't mind. I had work to do. I opened my laptop, not to check stock prices or news. I started downloading bank statements, insurance records, contracts from side projects she never even knew existed. Every document I saved was another brick in the wall she wouldn't see until it was too late. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was building. The forensic guy worked fast. Too fast. By Wednesday, I had a folder labeled Recurring Irregularities. Alyssa had been clever, just not careful. Every 3rd Friday, there was a spike in charges. Spa visits I didn't know about. Dinner bills for 2 at high-end places I'd never been. Gift purchases that never made it home. The amounts weren't huge, just under the radar. But they told a story. There was a weekend in Napa I supposedly paid for. But I'd never left the city that month. Then came the one that really hit. A 5-star suite booked under her name. 2 nights. Room service. Champagne. Coincided perfectly with the women's leadership retreat she said she was attending. That night, I didn't confront her. No yelling, no demands. I just quietly emailed the investigator and said, "Follow her this Saturday. She's going out of town again." Sometimes silence isn't weakness, it's aim. Saturday came like a quiet storm. I stayed home, pretending to sleep in. Alyssa left in her usual rush, heels clicking, designer bag in hand, lips painted war-ready red. I watched from the upstairs window as her Uber pulled away. But she wasn't heading to any spa, not this time. My investigator, Sean, followed her. He texted me updates like a war report. She just checked into the Marriott downtown. Not alone. Guy in a tailored suit, no luggage. They kissed at the valet. Every text was a nail in the coffin, not just of the marriage, but of the fantasy I had been clinging to for years. Around noon, Sean sent a photo. Her, laughing, clinking glasses with the man. A guy I vaguely recognized from her LinkedIn connections. I didn't reply. I didn't scream. I just stared at the screen and whispered to myself, "You chose the game. Now play it." That night, I stopped mourning and started building. I opened a fresh legal pad and wrote a name at the top. Daniel Crenshaw, Estate Law. He's not flashy, no billboard ads, just a quiet man with 30 years of burying cheaters under paperwork. We met in a diner outside city limits. No Wi-Fi, no digital trail. I laid out everything. Dates, photos, transactions, timelines. He listened, didn't interrupt, then finally said, "We won't play defense. We'll draw the battlefield." I hired a forensic accountant next. She wasn't impressed by Alyssa's glamour, just her inconsistencies. "Interesting," she said, circling a line item. "She's been moving money." They underestimated me, because I didn't shout. I didn't post. I documented. I prepared. They thought I was slow, but I was deliberate. Now it was no longer a matter of if, but when. This wouldn't be a breakup. It would be a reckoning. Step 1. Lock down the assets. I moved everything out of reach. Transferred silent holdings to trusts she didn't know existed. Froze the joint accounts she used to bleed for her weekend getaways. The accountant helped track every dime she borrowed for spa days and 5-star lunches with men who weren't me. Step 2. Cancel the exit doors. Alyssa had been planning her freedom. Apartment viewings in her name. A lease pending. Too bad I already called the realtor. Told them the income verification was fraudulent. Her independent credit card? Suspended. Linked to the LLC I owned entirely. She thought she was running the show. But the stage was mine now. And the lights were dimming fast. You don't betray someone and expect them to stay stupid. She thought I was asleep at the wheel. I was just waiting for the perfect stretch of road to take back the steering wheel. Next move? Serve the first papers. Quietly. Strategically. I met with my legal team. 5 of them now. No social media, no leaks, no loose ends. The kind of people who don't blink when you say, "I want every stone turned over." We filed under sealed motion. Alyssa wouldn't see it coming, not until it hit her mailbox like a freight train wrapped in manila. I wasn't rushing revenge. I was engineering justice. And while she was sipping cocktails with her Pilates crew, laughing at how he's probably crying in a hoodie somewhere, I was 3 chess moves ahead. We subpoenaed financial institutions, flagged offshore activity, requested discovery on every purchase she'd hidden in fake business expenses. This wasn't bitterness. It was calculation. She played games, but I was done playing. The man she thought was broken, he was just getting started. She didn't see it coming. Not when the doorbell rang on that sunny Tuesday afternoon. Not when she opened the door, still in her robe, still glowing from her little morning yoga session. And definitely not when the process server handed her the envelope and said, "Alyssa Caldwell, you've been served." The look on her face? Priceless. Inside? A formal petition for full financial disclosure, a motion to freeze joint assets, and a demand for forensic accounting of her companies. Filed, notarized, delivered. She called me 3 times that day. I didn't answer. She texted, "What is this, Michael? Are you serious? This is insane." I left her on red. Let her sit in the silence she had once weaponized. Let her wonder when the next knock would come, because this wasn't revenge. It was revelation. She built her empire on the assumption I was a fool. I built mine betting she'd never look under the surface. She called her lawyer, twice, then mine. Left voicemails with fake calmness in her voice. You could hear the panic chewing through every syllable. That confident smirk, nowhere to be found. She started checking the accounts, trying to transfer money, trying to call favors from the same people she'd bragged to. But here's the thing. When you're arrogant long enough, people stop rooting for you. They smile to your face, then forward your group chat screenshots to your ex-husband. That's when the spiral started. She messaged me again. "Why are you doing this? I thought we could be civil." I almost laughed. This wasn't uncivil. This was controlled, calculated, exactly how she'd operated for years. Except this time, she wasn't the one pulling the strings. Now she was the one being managed, and I wasn't lifting a finger. The judge leaned forward again. "Mrs. Carter," he said slowly, "can you explain the discrepancies between your testimony and these financial records?" Alyssa opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked at her lawyer, who was now sweating bullets. Not the good kind. My attorney didn't say a word. She didn't have to. The numbers did the talking. Every hidden asset Alyssa thought she could claim. Protected. Every accusation she lobbed at me. Neutralized. The judge continued, calm but cutting. "I see an effort to manipulate this court, not just financially, but ethically." Alyssa's shoulders slumped. Her posture, once proud, poised, now curled in on itself like a kid caught cheating on a test. For the first time, I saw it in her eyes. Not power, not entitlement, fear. And that was justice. The judge didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. "Based on the evidence," he said, "this court finds Mrs. Carter's financial disclosure to be intentionally misleading." The room went silent. Even the court reporter stopped typing for a beat. He continued, "Requests for spousal support are hereby denied. Claims to shared assets, denied. Any compensation based on projected income, denied." Alyssa looked like she'd been slapped, but it wasn't violence. It was truth. Her empire of control crumbled. Her confidence cracked. She turned to me, but this time I wasn't the man she used to steamroll. I didn't blink, didn't flinch, didn't feel for her, because justice wasn't just served, it was handed down with receipts, and I made damn sure every one of them was airtight. She sat there like someone had pulled the floor out from under her, back straight but spirit broken. The judge didn't even look up as he signed the ruling, just another case. But to me, it was the end of a long, brutal war fought in silence. Alyssa leaned toward her lawyer, whispering fast, panicked, but there was nothing he could do. The paper had spoken. The truth had screamed louder than her performance ever could. I stood up, calm, not triumphant, just done. She looked at me like she didn't know who I was anymore. And maybe she didn't, because the man she tried to humiliate, bury, and control, he didn't exist anymore. He died the night she laughed in that living room. The man who walked out of that courtroom, he knew exactly who he was, and he never needed her validation to begin with. "Michael, wait, please." Her voice cracked for the first time in years. Not sharp, not smug, just scared. She ran after me like I was her lifeline. Too late. I turned slowly, letting her see the look in my eyes. Not hate, not revenge, just peace. The kind of peace that comes when a man has nothing left to lose. Because he already won. "I know I made mistakes," she said, trembling. "We had something." "Don't throw it all away." I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just said, "No, Alyssa. You threw it away the moment you thought I was beneath you." She started to cry, but I'd already mourned this marriage. In silence, in shame, in solitude. Now, I didn't need closure. I needed distance. And I drove off without another word. I used to think closure came from confrontation, from screaming, from slamming doors, from asking why 1,000 different ways. But that was before I realized some answers don't matter. She lied. She cheated. She gambled my loyalty like it was spare change. And still, I'm not broken, because I didn't crawl away from this. I walked. Straight, silent, and stronger. I rebuilt not just my finances, not just my legal standing, but my sense of self. I don't check her social media. I don't wonder where she is. I don't care who she's with. Because now, I eat breakfast in peace. I sleep without bracing for betrayal. I laugh, really laugh, for the first time in years. This isn't a story about a man getting even. It's about a man getting free. And if you're watching this, maybe it's your turn too.